Hello hobby friends, I'm Jason and you're joining me here today on Level Up Hobbies. This is actually my first video back since my workspace was pretty much destroyed and when my basement flooded. But we got that all cleaned up, reorganized, and put back in place, minus anything that was destroyed in the process. But not worried about that, we're moving forward. And on that note, today we're painting up some Tyranids, and that's going to be Hive Fleet Behemoth. So let's jump in, let's start painting, and I will see you at the end.
Alright, so here is Hive Fleet Behemoth, and to start off I primed him white, well, Corax white, using my airbrush, and now I'm going in and using some Flesh Terror's red contrast paint to add that first bit of color to this guy. Now the red is going to be the predominant color on this Hive Fleet, so pick one that you're comfortable using or you like using. I like these darker, deeper reds for Behemoth. I think it just looks a little better. And if you're using a contrast or any other paint really, if you want to deepen it up, you could add a little bit of blue or purple to this. So like for contrast, you could use just a dab of Leviathan blue or just a dab of like Shaiish purple, and that will deepen this red a little bit more, just make it a little bit darker. But I like the Flesh Terror's red, and it turns out very, very well once I get it on. So just take your time as you're putting this on here. Don't spread the paint too thin, or it'll be really blotchy at the end. So we'll go ahead and get this painted on here. And once that Flesh Terror's red contrast is dry, I'm going to punch up these highlights by dry brushing some Evil Sunz Scarlet just over the top. This is going to be a light dry brushing. I don't want that scarlet to overtake that deep red that we've already developed with that Flesh Terror's, but I do like the highlights that this will create. And then once I'm done with that, again I'm going to hit it for another light highlight, using a little bit of Wild Rider red, and that's just to really hit those areas like on the tops of the arms and stuff, just so they just have a little bit more punch to them. And just build these highlights up very lightly and fairly slowly. Don't overdo it, because again, you don't want to take away that really deep red that you've already created with that Flesh Terror's undercoat there. And now with all that dry brushing out of the way, we're going to move on to this like chitinous armor here. And for this I am just using Abaddon black. You can really use any color black you would like for this part here. Just make sure you have some complete coverage. And since I've already got the black out, I go ahead and give the entire base a coat of this Abaddon black. And this is to prepare it for this kind of just blasted, lifeless landscape that the Tyranids leave behind. So paint your bases here black, and then we'll dry brush them up in a little bit. And now for his weapon, or symbiotic worm gun, if you will. It is also going to be black, but I wanted to stand out from the armor's black, so I'm painting this Corvus black, which is really more of a charcoal gray. But once you get this painted, it all looks really well together. Now to add highlights to the armor. For this, I take some Citadel's Stegodon Scale Green, and I just lightly, using a pointed brush, make sure you got a sharp pointed brush for this, I lightly just add striations to to the armor. And I tried, successfully, unsuccessfully, I don't really know. I tried to vary the length of these so they're not so uniform. Otherwise, it just looks like a thick line running across the edge of the armor plating here. But just little lines, just dashes. I find it easier to pull my lines down than brushing them up. I just think I feel like I have more control. You may feel differently. So just get the model how you feel comfortable and just start adding these as you like. They can be as long or short and as numerous or not as you like. So start adding dashes until your heart's content. And now I take Ghost Gray and I mix it in with that original Stegodon Scale Green to make the next highlight for the armor. And again on this, just along the edges, I'm just doing little hashes, little hash marks, pulling down and trying not to cover all of that Stegodon Scale Green, because I do want some of that to show through, just to show that variation from the edge moving into the black. It adds a kind of an optical illusion of a gradient when you do it like this. But yeah, so just start adding these until you're happy with the look. If you kind of layer them up a little bit, they'll get brighter and brighter. So do that in some of the areas, like towards the edges, like those longer parts of the armor that stick out, those little wings and stuff. Just hit the edges of those a little bit more, and it really looks pretty cool. I grabbed some Warlord Purple from Vallejo, game color, and I paint in the tongue with this. Now this does not cover a dark base very well, so if you have any black on here, you're going to want to touch it up and make sure that you're just painting over a very light base color. So either a white or maybe like a wraithbone or a light gray, like anything like that will work. And now I'm going to hit it with some Citadel's Volupus Pink contrast paint just to give it a little bit more definition. It's really flat right now, so this will add a little bit of shade and leave some of the highlight. I'm going to go back in and add some highlights in a little bit with some Squid Pink. And now to kind of add a little bit of contrast from this black and the armor, I'm actually highlighting this in Wraithbone, so it's got a warmer highlight, a warmer tone to the black than the armor and the claws do. It adds some nice variation to these shades. So. And now I pick out a couple pieces of the rocky terrain with some Game Colors Somber Gray. And I must not have recorded the next part, but I proceed to dry brush the entire base with Somber Gray. And then I follow that with a dry brush of Steel Gray. And I finish that with a final highlight dry brush of Ghost Gray, all from Game Color. And this gives you a nice, at least in my opinion, a a great lifeless kind of terrain feature. Excuse me. But yeah, if you wanted to replace this with like some warm grays, I think you would get the same effect. I haven't tried it though. If you'd like to see how I actually painted up the whole base, I'll put a link to my Hive Fleet Leviathan video up above, so you can check that out. And we finish off the base with a victory lap of Abaddon Black. And yeah, so this guy's done. Next thing I'm going to do is wait till this is dry, and then I'm going to hit it with a coat of Vallejo's just matte varnish. And what that's going to do is just bring everything down to the same level. It just kind of homogenizes all of the sheens and everything on this model, so it makes for a more cohesive look. Alright, and here we have the model in its completeness. You can actually see the base complete on this shot here. Yeah, so this was another fun model to paint. Much different than my Tyranid armies, so it's I don't know, it's strange. It's always strange painting like a different, form of the same thing, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to get at. But the deep red and then the black carapace, like, it really, really looks good on these guys, and very easy, fast to paint, really. So hopefully you guys can take this and work on your own Tyranid armies. Switch it up, use different colors or whatnot. I mean, the techniques and everything apply to pretty much every color you can get. And I apologize, my voice is kind of out of it. I'm kind of coffee and stuff. I'm just getting over a bout of COVID right now, so kind of hit me this time. But anyways, thank you for joining me as I painted up this Hive Fleet Behemoth. Yeah, so thanks guys, and I will see you next time.
Hey guys, thanks again for joining me today on Level Up Hobbies as I painted up Hive Fleet Behemoth. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like down below, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I publish new videos. Thanks again, and remember, build, paint, and play tabletop games. See you next time.